Thank you, Maricel. Let's try Noreen. Noreen?
Yes, sir. Good morning po.
Go ahead. Same question.
Yes, sir. I think I could use the learning outputs of this particular seminar training or the webinar sa part po ng estudyante in giving them additional learning outputs to work on for them to practice more and to enhance their skills, as well as in the part of particularly the pandemic that we have in the field of remediating the students for the remediation in order to have a successful attainment of the learning competencies. And to the part of the teachers, perhaps I could share what I have learned from this particular seminar workshop that are not available for them right now.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for those that volunteered. So the next part of the form that you will be accomplishing is to, aside from the strategies that you have described in the previous section, the next is you have to describe the tasks or activities that you can and that you will do for the next 10 months to address your weaknesses. Okay, so for each month here, you can put in and list down the individual tasks and activities that you will be doing to address those limitations and what outcomes do you expect to happen. So this is going to be found in the form that you will be filling up later. All right. Now, I had several information that was actually presented. Okay. And in case that there are some questions, you can drop some of these questions in my Instagram. So my Instagram account is here. It's at Carlo 2020 Feb, F-E-B. All right. Yeah. So for the teachers that are here, okay, inside our room, yeah, can you tell me if you have some questions or clarifications on the task?
Sir, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Sir, I'd like to just add clarification lang po about the task. Is it like, what I'm asking is about the deadline. When are we going to?
Okay, so for the, yeah, thank you for asking that one. So for the assessment plan, so this is something that you can do towards the end of the school year. Okay, so before you end the school year by April or June, so that you will have enough time to gather evidences for the next 10 months. Okay, and then the other one, the individual action plan, so you can accomplish that one later on until the afternoon and towards the weekend. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? From the participants in this room, do you have any other questions? Okay, now take note that the detailed guidelines on how to make the assessment plan is going to be provided to you by the organizers. And if you have questions regarding some of the contents, you can drop a question, okay, a message, okay, here in my Instagram account at Carlo2020Feb. Alrighty. So back to our host, Miss AJ.
Thank you very much, Dr. Carlo. And thank you to our speakers, Dr. David and Dr. Balagtas. We would like to thank you for your presentation, and we will now open the floor for questions.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
We still have one. Yeah, we still have one topic to present, and that's the eProfessional portfolio. Let me do that now.
I'm sorry, Dr. Balagtas. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, okay. Let me show my screen first. Is my camera on? Let's see. Okay. Can you see my screen now? Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Doc.
All right. So this is the fourth item that we have to discuss for all of you participants in this PD. This is the need for you to develop your professional portfolio. So we call this ePortfolio, as this will have to be done in a cloud-based storage. So the intention of this discussion is for you to know again, this is the overall plan for our module 1A. That's for you to plan your action, no, to the identified strengths and weaknesses as far as those assessment competencies of a teacher, no, are concerned. And I'm now moving to the last part of the activities that we have targeted this morning. May I request first the participants to please mute your microphone. Teachers who are in the platform, kindly mute your microphone. All right, thank you. So we are now nearing the end of our session. This is the last presentation, as I mentioned, and this is for you to know in advance what our plans are to gauge your competencies, assessment competencies, as the pre-assessment or the teacher assessment literacy inventory is not enough. That could only give us a fraction of what you know. We need to see evidences or pieces of evidence of what you know and what you are capable of doing in reality. And so these pieces of evidence could be captured in another way of assessing you, and that is through your professional ePortfolio. So in this presentation, we hope that you could show your awareness by probably putting some reflections again of what you have realized about this presentation since this morning in the chat box, or in the form of a question if there are still questions lingering in your mind about all the things that we have explained to you. So again, this session is to explain why or how the ePortfolio is going to be developed. As you all know, especially that you are doing your RPMS in this type, I understand the RPMS for teachers is also prepared in the form of means for verification or means of verification or MOVs. And I understand that you put them to all the evidences together, and that is already what we mean here by your professional portfolio. If they are put in Google Drive or in any learning management system or available sites for development of your professional portfolio, like Google site, MS, Sway, and other platforms, or Wix, then they are also possible for the preparation of your electronic portfolio. So why do we encourage the use of electronic portfolio? As this could allow greater flexibility, wider access, and easier maintenance. Instead of you putting everything in your storage, sometimes your storage is not enough. And so cloud-based would be more practical. And it's easy to share this, especially if you want others to view these evidences that you were able to acquire, for them to have a good gauge of your capability, particularly in assessing students' learning. The expectations when you do this are as follows: that you should be able to create your ePortfolio. And again, the purpose of that is for you to showcase your competence in assessing students' learning, to provide evidences or pieces of evidence in that portfolio. We want particularly pieces of evidence that could speak of your competence in assessing students' learning, as that is the focus of our professional development program. But we need to see your annotations. We want to see what these pieces of evidence tell. As far as the 7 assessment competencies are concerned, or the 5 areas of competencies in the PPST are concerned, as and on. No? You have to explain, and the annotation is like a way of explaining to us what exactly among those indicators in the PPST, for example, as there are 5 indicators there when it comes to assessment and reporting that are covered or reflected in the evidence that you were able to produce. Or as far as the 7 areas of competencies are concerned, meron din ba? Kasi more specific yung 7 areas of competencies na pinresent namin sa inyo, but we showed earlier that they are also mapped to the 5 competencies in the PPST in the domain of assessment and reporting. We want you to evaluate your own work, no, to identify further what your strengths and weaknesses are or the areas for improvement. Again, in the tally or the teacher assessment literacy inventory, you could already have a good gauge of what your strengths and weaknesses are, as we provided you a copy of the specifications. If you have not gotten this yet, this would be put there in the learning management system, so you could identify these items that pertain to each of the competencies, the 7 areas of competence in assessing learning. So you could see already there your strengths and weaknesses as a teacher. But again, this is not that reads yet, as it only focuses on what you know and probably your level of understanding of how assessment is done in the classroom or in the national or global level. But then we know that that's not just what we want to see in you. We want a proof of your capability to assess effectively and efficiently your students. And so we want other sources of evidence. So that's where we would be needing, or you would be needing, the actual proof of your capability. And we want you to do a self-assessment of these pieces of evidence that you would be able to acquire from your engagement in all the modules designed for this particular PD. Okay, so that's more on verifying further your identified strengths and areas for improvement. And use these two in planning your future areas for professional development. For example, if the self-assessment says that you are able to produce all the needed evidence for the 7 assessment competencies with reference to international standards, or 5 assessment competencies with reference to PPST. So that's fine. So that means you are now ready to move up to a higher career stage probably, or probably look at the other areas in the PPST, as there are 7 domains there, and we are only talking about the 5th domain, the assessment and reporting domain. But there are 6 other areas where you have to build your capacity as well as a teacher, as we are talking of your totality as a teacher and not just your ability to assess. Okay, so that could be your reference in planning your future professional development programs. Then, of course, in developing and evaluating your professional e-portfolio, you have to be guided by some principles. Like first is that your purpose should be clear. So what, again, your purposes are, we want to capture your the enhancement of your assessment competencies. We know you have them already because your assessment competencies.
Salamat. At kung ikaw ay interesado ng mga bidyong tulad nito, mangyaring suportahan ang channel na ito sa pamamagitan ng pagpindot ng like, pag-share ng mga video, at kung bago ka pa lang sa channel na ito, please subscribe sa channel na ito at pindutin ang notification bell at piliin ang all upang maabisuhan ka para sa mga paparating pang mga video.